Your credit report is your adult report card, right, to these banks. How legitimate are you? Are you responsible with money? If you're responsible with a little bit, we'll give you a lot more, exponentially too, right? So that's why I want to get it into people's head. The earlier you start to build your credit profile by getting some type of credit, we're going to get you more funding on the back end. You want a business credit card? Have you ever had a personal credit card? Right? And I'm not talking about from Today's Men or Macy's or Victoria's Secret, a real credit card, Visa, MasterCard, American Express. The younger you start to build up that profile, I tell people I want you to have at least 3 to 5 credit cards that are aged over 2 years old. The higher the limit, the older the cards, the more funding you can get on the business side. So I want everybody to think, I want you to start relationships with these banks, right? You want to get these business partners. I call my banks my business partners.
There you go.
You want your business partner to invest in you. You got to show them that you're investable, right? I want to, what have you done lately? Well, on my own, I have 2 credit cards from Navy Federal and Apple Credit Union. I've had them for 2 years. The limits on each of those cards are, one is $3,500, one is $6,000. I've never been late over the past 2 years. Okay, great. So now business partner, American Express, Chase, I'll give you Chase will give you 10,000, right? Navy Federal will give you 10,000 on the business side. You see how it's exponential? They doubled or tripled what you got before on the personal side because they know on the business side, you need more capital. You need more money on the business side. They're not going to give you a $5,000 credit card. They're going to give you something more significant, all because you came to them correct. You showed them what you did on your own. So they like, bet you're investable. Let me give you some funding. Let's see what you do with that.
Got you. Okay. All right.
I wasn't always loaded. I had to stay down when they got what I wanted. Now when they see me, them bitches be on me. Now when I pull up, them niggas hate on me. I got more money than niggas be on me. Had the ground for the shit, did it all by my loan.
Yo, what's good, my people? Welcome back to Living Wealthy Network. If you're serious about leveling up your business and getting real funding, you're in the right place. All right, today we're gonna be breaking down everything you need to know about business credit and personal credit. Okay, so we're going to talk about how do you need to actually structure your profile, what are the banks really looking for, and then we're going to even throw in some fire plays that you can get started right now, so you can go ahead and get approved for some of those higher limit business credit cards. Now, most people struggle with business credit because they don't understand how the game is played. Banks have a system. If you don't check those certain boxes within those systems, then you'll be getting denied. But today, we're going to be giving you the blueprint for success. All right, so I've pulled together some key insights for some of the best business credit videos and personal credit videos that I've seen. And so we're not just talking about theories, we're actually going to be giving you real proven steps and methods that'll help you improve your credit. So if you're serious about taking your finances to the next level, I'd like for you to hit that like and subscribe, and then also comment down below. Let me know of any other type of business or personal wealth building tools that you're looking for. All right, let's get into it.
We know that there's bureaus, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, and then there's FICO. Are the scores from those 3 bureaus average and that becomes your FICO? So how does that work?
So the easiest way to explain it is we have 3 separate credit scores. They're assigned by TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So those are 3 scores that you're assigned. Now, when it comes to FICO score and credit score, FICO score is the industry standard. So like if you're purchasing a home, if you're buying a car, applying for a credit card, they're going off your FICO score. Okay. The difference is most people are only privy of their Vantage score, which is essentially just like a free version of FICO score, and that is like when you have Credit Karma. Most credit monitoring apps will give you your Vantage score as opposed to your FICO score, which is why a lot of times people will think that they know what their credit score is, and they'll go apply for something, and they're like, well, Credit Karma was telling me I had a 650, but the car lot is telling me I have a 540. So there are 3 different credit scores, and to not make it complex, FICO has many different models. So depending on what you're applying for, the lender will choose a different model that they'll pull.
I think I've seen that. So it was like if I needed a loan, it was like FICO score 8. Or if I needed a credit card, it was different bureaus inside of it. And they could be similar or they could be vastly different.
They could be vastly different.
Yeah, because they're graded differently.
True. So the ones that I like to talk about, because I think that everyone should be aware of these different ones, FICO 8 is the one that's used the most. So especially when you're applying for credit cards, Some car and personal loans, they're going to use FICO 8. When you're purchasing a home, they're specifically going to use FICOs 2, 4, and 5, which are known as the mortgage scores. If you're purchasing a car, they're going to use your FICO 6, which is your auto score. Okay. So those are like the 3 most used versions or widely used versions of your FICO score. But the way that I teach credit, when you fix your credit profile, it'll translate across all scores, which is why I don't necessarily place too much emphasis on the different versions of your FICO score, because if you have a healthy profile, it'll translate regardless of which score is pulled.
Keep it healthy.
Yeah.
So what factors contribute to your personal credit score?
So your credit score is broken down into 5 categories, right? So most people know your payment history is 35%, your credit utilization is 30%, credit age is 15%, and then hard inquiries and credit mix are both 10%, right? So those are the 5 factors that lend to your credit scores. Now they're weighted differently. So payment history is 35% or worth up to 192.5 points. Credit utilization is worth 165 points. Credit age is worth 82.5 points, and then hard inquiries and credit mix are both worth 55 points each, right? So those are the separate factors. And when you're building your credit, if you focus on those top 3 categories, which is credit utilization, payment history, and credit age, you'll have at least like a 680, 690.
So when it comes to business funding, talk to me a little bit about why is having good personal credit essential?
Yeah, so for most time, when we're trying to get big limits, right, they're going to ask you to do what's called a personal guarantor.
Okay.
So when you go in these banks and you're trying to get these business credit cards for high limits, they're going to look at your personal credit too. So if your personal credit is bad, it's more than likely you're not going to be able to get approved. So we got to take care of that first. So we got to make sure we got both together. So when it comes to personal credit, it has to be built properly how the banks want you to build it. If it's not built how they want you to build it, then you're not going to be able to get access to the high limits. So a lot of people may see the small limits like $500, $700, $1,000, and they wondering, well, why can't I get these high limits? Right. Most of the time it's because the credit report is not on point. And we got to stop looking at the credit score. So I have seen people, I got a 750, why am I getting declined? Or why am I getting $500? It's because you're not building out the personal credit side properly. So the banks care about the report, not the score. So we got to always remember that.
Got you. So let's talk a little bit more about the report. If I don't know nothing about credit, right? What does my credit report need to look like? Because like you just said, it's not about the score, it's about the report. Yep. What does the proper credit report structure look like in order for me to go get that bag? Talk to me about that.
So this is how I position mine. So I would say you need to have less than 10% utilization on your credit card. Okay. So a lot of y'all got to stop maxing out these credit cards. We got to pay our personal debt down. Right. We got to have multiple different accounts, but different accounts. So you can't go in the bank and have just only one type of account. You got to have different. So what I mean by that is we can have some credit cards. We can have maybe like an auto loan. We can probably have some installment loans, store cards, secure cards, or mortgage, whatever we got to do. We got to get different type of account, which makes the mixture good, which make it stronger. Gotcha. Okay, so then you gotta have history. So some of us may have just started credit, or some of us don't have accounts that's been open for long periods of time. Right. So you need accounts that's been open for long periods of time, or we can utilize different strategies to enhance our history as well. We can't have no negatives. So some people think they can slide by with a little medical bill that's $80. No, you can't. We don't need no collections, no derogatory marks, no late payments, no bankruptcies, none of the negative things. The banks does not like anything negative. So let's just put ourselves in a position before we even go into banks, to even, try to apply with something bad on there. Let's clean slate. So you got a clean slate, you got 10 accounts, you got less utilization, and then less inquiries. So they don't want you to have over probably 2 inquiries, 3 inquiries. If you want to keep it below 3 inquiries, you're going to be in a good spot too. So if you can position your credit report like that, that will put you in a good position to now go get the bag.
All right, so in terms of what you could practically do to increase your score as fast as possible, here's what I recommend. Number 1, apply for a no annual fee credit card. The reason behind this is that the longer your credit cards remain active, the longer your history is going to be open, and the more established your average account age is going to be. Since these are going to be the cards that you should, in theory, just keep open for as long as you possibly can to build the foundation of your credit, it helps if they have no annual fee to be able to save you a substantial amount of money. As an example of this, some of my first credit cards were the Bank of America Cash Rewards card, Discover card, and a random credit union card, which cost me nothing. But on the other hand, had I signed up with my first worst cards that cost even $25 a year each. That's $900 spent over the last 12 years completely unnecessarily. So if you don't have to spend the money, don't spend the money. Also, if you want specific examples of the cards I like the most, the Bank of America Cash Rewards card is great, the Discover It's Secured card, or the Wells Fargo Active Cash card. All three are fantastic. I'm not sponsored by them, I don't get paid by them, I get nothing in return, I just personally like them. There you go. The second, always make sure to pay off your balances in full by the time they're due. I know all of this seems common sense, but never carry a balance on a credit card and don't spend money that you weren't planning on spending anyway. I treat every credit card purchase as though it's cash just coming right out of my account, and if I can't afford to pay it off immediately afterwards, I don't put it on the card. It's that simple. But you know what? Full disclosure, if you're the type of person not to handle credit cards responsibly or charge them up because you can, then I highly recommend instead just put a recurring charge on one credit card like a Netflix subscription, Costco membership, phone bill, you name it, cut up the card and destroy it, and then just set it to auto pay so that it automatically pays off in full by the time it's due. It's the same thing like having a debit card, except you're able to build credit without actually spending more money on the credit. The third, once you've done this successfully for 6 to 12 months, go ahead and apply for another credit card. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but the more credit cards that you have, the lower your overall utilization is going to be, the more positive trade lines get reported, and the higher your score can go. Like, just consider that if you have a credit card and you pay it off in full on time every single month for a full year, that's 12 positive trade lines. But if you have 2 credit cards and then you pay both of them off on time for the full year, now you have 24 positive trade lines, and that helps boost your score. Next, fourth, after about a year of doing this, you could apply for rewards cards like the American Express Gold. Even though this is certainly not necessary to build a good credit score, certain credit cards could be used in such a way that not only pay for themselves, but also turn a profit, meaning you could make money from this. And as long as your credit score is above 720 or so, you have a really good shot at being approved. I'll cover some of the best reward credit cards later in the video, but just know, around this time you could start taking advantage of some really incredible offers. After that though, fifth, continue adding new lines of credit. Again, this one is not required to have a good credit score, but it does help if over time you add different lines of credit. That could be a mortgage, a lease payment, a student loan, a personal loan, an auto loan, you name it. Now obviously, you don't have to go and take out loans just for the sake of taking out loans to build your credit, because doing all of this can be done without paying a single cent in interest, but it does help to have different types of credit, for whatever that's worth. And 6, once you've done all of the above, just wait. For the most part, if you just follow the above steps, after about 2 years, you should have a credit score that's high enough to get approved for almost anything that you want to get. But you know what? I will say, if you want to speed up the process a little bit faster, there is a way to cut the line. And there's also a way to fix a bad credit score if you're not currently happy with where it's at.
See, business credit can help you get capital you need to actually expand the business, also cover day-to-day expenses, purchase inventory, hire additional staff, and it will allow you to conserve your own cash on hand to cover the cost of doing your business. Now, here are the steps to actually establish business credit. Now, number 1, you got to get you an EIN number. You can literally just Google EIN and you could apply for one on the IRS website. Number 2, you want to open up a separate business bank account. You need to make sure that you have separate personal and separate business bank accounts. You want to separate both those assets. Number 3, you want to get a Duns & Bradstreet number. Just Google DNB or Dun & Bradstreet. The website is dnb.com. This is going to help legitimize your business profile to help you get lenders. And then 4, after all that, you want to start opening up a few net 30 accounts, right? This is obviously going to show the lenders that your business is credit worthy. So you could go to a few stores like maybe a Home Depot, a Grainger, a Uline, and look, obviously the same way you do a normal credit card, you do it with the business credit card. You want to be paying back those items that you're buying, right? Paying them off in full at the end of each, billing cycle. So look, at the end of the day, if you follow these steps, you'll be good, and more importantly, going to help your girl get off to a great position, bro.
Turn a liability into an asset, and that really struck my attention because it's like you said, we've been programmed so long to think that everything is liability on a certain level like that is not an asset, traditional assets like cars, for instance, right? Mm-hmm. It's like no matter, like we did a video about how to like put your car in your business name and take the deduction and all that. And a lot of people was like, that's dope, I didn't know anything. But then there was always some skeptics like, well, it's still a liability. You're still wasting money on it. Yeah. But you broke down something and that was kind of crazy. It got my attention how you can actually make money with the car, like running ads and Toro, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So when it comes to that, one of the things is that, look, and it's frank, and it probably rub people the wrong way. Cars are liabilities, right? That's a 19th century mindset, right? Take that back. That's in the 90s and the 80s that mindset exists. It's not relevant now. Only people that's relevant to is people who won't acquire new information and don't stay up to date with systems, right? Because there's no way that you can look at a vehicle unless you just don't have the information. I got friends that make 6 figures off of vehicles. No way you're going to tell me that that's a liability. It's a liability if we don't utilize it right. So then I started telling people, I said, listen, you want to learn? Okay, here, let's take a car, like a smart car, right? I went and found the littlest car, right? Littlest car that nobody wants. When I tell you, right, it's the smart car for 2, right? Listen to me,
I'll
right?
be honest, I didn't think it was yours when I saw it. I saw you drive it. I said, it is.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, yo, I put music in and everything. It got beat. I'm like, yo, listen. Funny thing is that I buy the smart car, and then not only so I buy the smart car, I tell people, listen, let me explain something to you. I got the smart car, and this is what I teach people as well. I say, look, you can go to swap a lease and literally do a lease takeover, put no money down out of pocket, get a car that costs $200 a month. This vehicle costs $200 a month. Now what happens next? Since this vehicle costs $200 a month, I say, yo, listen, earn your leisure. I got a car that's going to be in downtown Metro Atlanta 12 hours a day. It'll probably get exposed to about 20,000-30,000 people a month. Yo, give me $200. I want to put earn your leisure on the left side in your company promotion. Is that something that you'll be okay with?
200, we'll do it.
Sold.
Lights, right? That's light. Okay, well, guess what? I'm gonna get somebody else to put their business on the right side. I'm gonna get another business to put their business on the back of the door, on the back of the vehicle, right? I now make $600 off a $200 liability. Then they say, well, how you gonna keep it in the Metro Atlanta for 12 hours a day? You gonna drive it? No, I'm gonna go and hire somebody to drive it. So now I'm gonna rent the car out to somebody who want to drive for Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash, one of the grocery delivery services. Look, give me $150 a week. You don't pay gas or insurance. You give me $150 a week, and you use the vehicle. Now and you use the car 6 hours a day. You got options. You got access to it 6 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's one person. I do 2 people. So now that's 12 hours. That's a 12-hour shift in the day. That's 2 people paying me $150. $150 a week. That's $300. That's $1,200 a month. So now I'm making $1,200 a month off the drivers, $600 off the advertisement. That's $1,800 a month. $1,600 of that is profit. I'm making $1,600 profit off of one vehicle that they said was a liability. If I got 2 cars, I'm $3,200 to the good every month.
To the good.
$3,200 a month.
Straight cash, homie. It's one of the best things I've heard you say, man. Mindset is the only liability.
And now you make $3,200 a month. Imagine this. What's your background need to be? What do you need a degree in? That's $3,200 a month paying for a vehicle. Now, if you really get tricky and you understand is that then you go, well, it's other cars out there, and you can look up, it's websites that are hacked and say, hey, look, these cars perform the best on Turo, right? You can literally get one of those cars and then make it pay for your other ones. Or you just use it as income. You come home and you're like, yo, I got my credit together, but I don't know what to do with it. How do I turn my credit to cash? That's one of the credit to cash strategies, is actually learning how to execute and learn systems.
I want to talk about something. That was a whole lot of game. What you're known for, and that's turning credit into cash. Mm-hmm. Most people, when we think credit cards and how we get cash from it, is like, yo, if we get a cash advance, then we can take money out from it.
Yeah.
But your strategy has no cash advance, and it still is liquidating. Can you break that down?
So it's a little bit different. It's a whole bunch of different ways, right? When it comes to turning credit to cash. And I tell people, one, you don't ever want to do, if you had to pull money out doing a cash advance, they're going to charge you more and they hit you with extra fees and a higher percentage. So I tell people kind of stay away from the cash advances, but I do things like, it's just ways to generate cash, especially my mindset is entrepreneur at all times. So I tell people do things like, knowing which credit cards to use to do certain things. For example, if I go and run ads, right? I could run ads, and when I run ads, I can run ads and generate income back. But if I wanted to like pull money off, like what you just said, something like you just said, like trying to pull money off without doing a cash advance fee. One of the things that we used to do for fun is like I would go on a cruise, and because when I go on a cruise ship, guess what happens on a cruise ship? Is that they give you the debit card, the room key. So when I go on a cruise ship and use the room key, I would just go to the casino and get 20, 30,000 in chips and get a cashier's check and go home. I just pulled my money off my credit card and I got reward points because I was on a cruise ship. So since you're on a cruise ship, you get 5 points per dollar. So since I'm on a cruise ship, I get 5 points per dollar. I literally got chips with the room key. I could max every card out if I wanted to and go home with the cashier's check if I needed to use it to invest, whatever I needed to do. And I still accumulated the reward points.